Animations used in this video have been developed using evidence gathered during the investigation and are displayed for illustrative purposes only. They are not to be used for further analysis.
The ATSB has released an interim report into the collision between container ship Maersk Shekou and Australia's largest sail training ship Leeuwin II in the Port of Freemantle, Western Australia in August 2024. In the early hours of the 30th of August, Shekou, loaded with more than 4,000 containers and a crew of 26 on board, was attempting to berth at Container Terminal 3 in Fremantle's inner harbour. The container ship arrived off the Port of Fremantle 8 days earlier after a voyage from Adelaide. It drifted off the coast while awaiting entry to the port, the scheduled berthing time initially postponed due to industrial action, then further delayed with Fremantle Port closed due to bad weather. While navigating a left-hand bend into the inner harbour, the Shekou collided with the berthed Leeuwin, demasting the vessel, crushing its starboard side and injuring the 2 crew members on board at the time. After colliding with the Leeuwin, and despite having lost almost all speed, the Shekou's bow was still swinging to port as its stern moved starboard in the direction of the Western Australian Maritime Museum. Despite emergency actions by the pilots and Shekou's crew, with the assistance of 4 connected tugs, the 333-metre-long container ship continued to close the wharf. Efforts to arrest the swing were compounded by winds gusting up to 40 knots and the effect of tugs and thrusters to keep the bow away from the Leeuwin. After the collision with the sail training ship, the outermost stack of containers on the Shekou then collided with the roof of the museum before its starboard quarter made contact with the wharf, rupturing the hull above the waterline.
Just prior to 5 a.m, 2 Fremantle pilots, a primary and a secondary, boarded the Maersk Shekou at the outer pilot boarding ground. Now, the vessel was to transit the deep water channel and wait at the harbour entrance for a 6 o'clock daylight entry into port. During this initial transit, wind gusts of up to 50 knots from the southwest, almost on the bow of the vessel, were being encountered. Around an hour later, as the ship entered the port, 3 tugs were connected, but up to 30 degrees of port helm was required to maintain the course, with persistent strong winds now on the starboard quarter. As the Shekou's bow was in line with South Mole, the pilot ordered a course of 083 as the last tug was being made fast, and the vessel was now making good around 7.5 knots. Despite carrying hard port rudder, the vessel was experiencing a 1 degree rate of turn to starboard and struggling to maintain the entry course of 083. In a further attempt to bring the vessel's head around, the pilot ordered full ahead on the main engine. Now, this action, combined with the tugs, eventually brought the course to 086, when the helmsman, without the oversight of the pilot, then applied 30 degrees of opposite starboard helm to stop the turn and steady on the previously ordered course of 083. 15 seconds later, the primary pilot realised they were in trouble as the ship's head was no longer coming further to port as expected and as required to navigate the bend. The tug on the starboard shoulder now having to abandon its position due to the danger of being crushed between the quay and the closing hull of the Shekou. Moments later, the starboard bow collided with the Leeuwin, crushing and dismasting it, with the 2 crew members escaping via the gangway just on impact. The outermost stack of the containers then collided with the roof of the Maritime Museum as the vessel's starboard quarter continued to swing around and contact the wharf.
The Shekou then continued its transit to its berth. The investigation is continuing and a final report will be released at its conclusion. However, should a critical safety issue be identified during the course of the investigation, the ATSB will immediately notify relevant parties so appropriate and timely safety action can be taken. You can read the interim report on the ATSB's website by searching MO-2024-001 at the link below or via the link in our bio.